60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 67.
Part man.
Pod machine or pod. This minute begins with Robocop taking the elevator to the top and ends with Dick Jones offering his wrists in mock arrest.
My first note is, I love that shit-eating grin on Jones.
Yes.
Well, hello, officer.
Honestly, it's... what pops into my mind is just this image of him on the desk, lying on his belly. He's propped his hands, his head on his hands. Oh, you're gonna arrest me, are you? Oh.
Are you just gonna draw me like one of your French girls?
Yeah. Oh, don't do that. That would be bad. He has his hand on his forehead, pretending to faint.
But this is where I was mentioning in the last minute about it's the interesting power dynamic. Like, he clearly has an ace up his sleeve which we don't know about. I mean, we've been hinted about what he might be going on.
Yes, this entire time we've known that, well, he's created by OCP, he is controlled by the system, but we've never actually seen how that unfolds, so we're learning at the same time as Robocop. This is probably the first time we're not ahead of him.
Yeah, especially because, we know about Murphy, his life before Robocop, so yeah, this is a great reveal at this point in the movie. We've had that hidden Directive 4, which may or may not have a thing here. Of course, yeah, we know. And I think it's really cool that we got this, we start off this moment with the POV shot as he's approaching the door, and he's recounting the testimony as he's going there. Again, visually reinforcing this whole idea of his programming and all this other stuff. And yeah, it just helps build up that tension as well.
Do they call those scan lines? Is that what a scan line is?
If they called them, it was so long ago that I've forgotten. But they are typically referred to as scan lines. Yes.
I do love that kind of VHS effect going on there.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Robocop does not remember things in 1080p. That's the awful thing. If you become a robot man in an 80s future, you're just not getting high def. You're really sacrificing a lot there. It's the same issue that faced Max Headroom. Real tragic, that one.
He got de-resed.
And he glitches all the time. Lags like crazy.
So whenever I think of Max Headroom, I always think back to... because he was Matt Frewer?
Yes, Matt Frewer. And love that man.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I watched Eureka.
Yeah.
He plays the manic groundskeeper and who's supposed to be Australian. And the first time I heard that accent, I was just like, is he trying to be Australian?
Yeah. You know what? I've heard some Australians who've been living in America for a long time. I was just watching the Corridor Crew that had an Australian visual effects director on, and I'm going, "Is that Australian?" Because he'll say water, and I'm like, "Why are you saying water? Like water? Like what the fuck is this shit?" Yeah. So they pick up certain pronunciations.
We all know it's pronounced bottle water.
Water, yeah. Yeah, I think the way we say it, water. Yeah, I mean, my mom says it real... I mean, I try to do water, and I add the contraction, or, the contractions a little bit more. No, consonants, that's what, but the consonants, so you sound a little bit more educated.
No, what's really funny, apparently, is that Matt Frewer, did a whole lot of training because he loves the Australian accent, and he's very proud of it, and it's just like... Oh...
Bless you, you tried, but... you know who does a really good Australian accent is Nolan North of Uncharted fame. He does a lot of voice acting. And he, once in a podcast, he did specifically Perth. He said, I was there and I was really proud. And he pretended he was from Perth and I just went, oh my gosh. That's, yeah, if I didn't know who was speaking, I'd think it was a local.
Yeah. And who says Americans can't do accents?
Sometimes they can. I mean, there's, a few million of them, so statistically speaking.
One of them's got to get the accent right. And it's
I mean, I don't find the Australian accent that difficult, so, what's their problem?
Well,
I just do it. I don't even have to think about it.
well, not being a natural Aussie, even though I've lived here for 30 odd years, there's just some vocal tics I can't get rid of. Try as I
Gives
might.
our podcast some diversity, some flavour.
Yes, this Australian podcast about an American film. Anyway, one of my notes here is going back to this whole thing of like Dick Jones's shit-eating grin. The body language, particularly from both actors in this movie, in this minute specifically, is really good. Like you got the whole thing of like, well, you better come and arrest me. Yeah. But then you've got the Robocop moment where he starts losing control, and it's just like so jarring. And
the funky moves that Robocop does when he is glitching out, I love it. I love it so good.
What I love is that it visually confers to the audience that something's wrong, but it doesn't feel like it's like I've lost control and I'm moving all of it. It's like no, it's like his movements like still robotic and exaggerated like he's done throughout, but it's almost like he's losing control of it, and it's just it's like a great visual shutting down. Brilliant.
It is communicating something specific, I think, in lesser hands. I'm a robot, I'm glitching out, and so you just flail around and whatever. But no, what he's doing, you can see he's fighting so hard against his body. He wants to keep moving forward and continue on with his prior priorities.
Yeah, he's got this job, but he doesn't know what's happening because it's a deliberate piece of information that has been obscured to him, and he doesn't know about this whole thing of the security policy, as Dick Jones will come to call it. And it's great how it's being expressed visually in only a few seconds at this point. It's like they're literally at the tail end of the minute.
I don't know if this is just me going off on an esoteric tangent, but I'm thinking, well, he's obviously a man inside of the machine, so cyborgs are a little different, but he is sort of an AI, and I love thinking about that idea of, okay, so AI is following its directives and all of that. What happens when it comes into conflict like this, where it's pushing against some other directive, and how would an AI compensate for that, and would it force it to become more self-aware because it has to think about itself within the greater scheme of things and how best to proceed. And I think presenting a conflict like this to Robocop is fantastic because it's not a machine, it's a man. And so the moment you give an instructions, okay, follow the instructions, easy peasy, no problem. Now there's an issue, and that forces his higher reasoning to kick in and figure out, oh, hang on, I can't do both, or I can only do one, or I can't do the other, and they're conflicting. So that's a good way to kind of start waking him up, I think.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that's... I've always said about this is the moment, I think, where Robocop becomes Murphy. At least, this is the
catalyst,
the true awakening.
Yeah.
And you've perfectly hit it right on the head, Dex. This is literally the whole man versus machine conflict being brought into focus specifically. Like, where does the product of OCP end and the man that is Murphy begins? It's essentially this section right here. He has this job. Well, okay, maybe he doesn't really have a job. This is Murphy trying to subconsciously get revenge, but he is trying to arrest someone for crime. But what happens when the system that's put you on that task has also blocked you as well? So from an AI perspective, I could see this become a I'm trying to think of what the term is. Logical contradiction.
Conundrum. You know, how would you solve a situation like this without using higher order reasoning and self-awareness? I would be very fascinated to know. There's no other way. Well, especially if it's a cyborg. There is just no way. And I don't know if Dick Jones doesn't know anything about AI and programming and stuff, but
he probably doesn't need to. He probably just goes to McNamara. Was it McNamara? Who was the guy who was designing Ed 209 and just goes, yeah, we need to put a leash on this thing, because if he comes after us, we need to shut him down.
And so I don't think he truly realizes, well, if you put such a restriction in such a stark way, that's got to do something. And it's this complete unfamiliarity with this unfamiliar technology and assuming, you can control a human being like this. No, you can't.
I think it's that thing where he does think of this as a product. This is a machine. He doesn't care that it's got a squishy man brain in there.
I always feel there are racial undertones, slavery undertones specifically in that.
Definitely.
Just that idea of, these cyborgs aren't humans. Oh, they might have been human once, but they come up with all these justifications of, no, this isn't unethical. He's not a person anymore. And I think the remake sort of tries to get into that a bit more, sort of.
And fails. Because the problem with the remake is that the whole conceit of Sellers putting a man brain in a robot body is to get past a really weird law so he could sell more robots. He really doesn't give a shit about the actual conundrums or the ethical stuff about it, because it doesn't give a shit, which is good, but don't make that part of your movie unless you're going to do something with it.
I think I made it just a little too soon, the remake, not to jump ahead to gaslighting, but while I have this idea, if you made it in the 2020s, when you've got all the social media and you've got this very sharp divide between the left and the right and all of that sort of stuff going on, and the right would be very supportive of this Robocop concept, and you've got people on the left going, isn't that a human being? Don't human beings have rights?
Well, you can look at so we've brought this up. This was like part of the remake's theme is this whole idea about drone and drone warfare, which again also feels very dated. But
yeah, no one gives a shit anymore. Muse made a whole album called Drones. No one gave a shit. No one's afraid of drones. But you can buy them at fucking Kmart, $50.
But look at what we've got now in regards to information warfare and social media and
exactly,
all that type of stuff. And maybe not Robocop as a remake would be good for that, but like the whole concept of how would a human brain in a technological body dealing with all this stuff, how could that enact? And maybe is a law enforcement thing. So yeah, maybe that would be a good thing for Robocop, but you don't make him a flesh and bone robot body blah 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 going out being a cop. Although you'd have to do it as in regards to ACAB and BLM and all that type of stuff. But that could even be another thing. What if Robocop is forced to subdue protesters at a human rights rally?
Right, yeah.
Maybe it's going against... It's the programming versus the human component. Where the human component's going... They have a right for protest. They have a right to do this. But OCP hits the button and he's basically... This is what they should have been... Which is what they're kind of alluding to in the remake. Is that Murphy's essentially offline when he's in Robocop mode. But... because there's no difference in anything, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
We don't get that question of, is Murphy's humanity in conflict with Robocop's programming?
Yeah. And in this scene, the other clever thing, this is the beauty of doing a movies by minute podcast, but it's one of those scenes where on the surface you go, oh, okay, I guess this is how you would expect this scene to unfold, but you think deeply about, well, the choice for his awakening to happen like this, it works on a few layers, and the other thing I love is he is technically still doing his job here. He was going a little above and beyond. He did research into Murphy's case, and no one told him to do that.
But he was still stopping crime.
He was still stopping crime, and he was always working within the framework that was set before him.
Yes. In many ways, what Robocop did, Cocaine Factory and all that, bringing in a known cop killer, was perfectly in line. And what's the next logical thing? He's got the guy at the top who told him who's responsible for all this. You go and arrest that son of a bitch.
Yes.
That works within the logic of his program, the uphold the law.
Yeah, there is no deliberate act of rebellion here. It is just... And that's so true to the character. And there's so many movies or stories, where the... What do you call it? Character follows plot. So the plot needs to do this, and then the character just sort of... I guess they want to do this now. No, this is so...
Agency.
Agency, yeah. So Robocop needs to awaken. He needs to realize that OCP is against him. Well, this is a robot man who has no real... Oh, there's the cops. They're off. I don't know if you can hear that.
No, that was the wind in my end.
All right. No, very loud sirens just outside my house.
Oh, no. It must have been at the same time as wind, because
Weird.
My window just goes... Fuck.
But,
I live in a very windy part of Australia.
All right. Getting back on track. So, we need him to rebel and wake up and all that. And, well, how do you do that for a character who is a cyborg, who is programmed, who has no thoughts of his own, without it just happening? And I think this is a beautiful way to do it. It's elegant. You don't think about it.
Yeah, it's literally the dog getting kicked by his master to a certain degree. It's the the one system that he was deliberately built for betrays him. Like, Robocop is a cop mostly in name only. Like, he has this authority. It's been given to him by the corporate, not by the people. He was only a cop beforehand, but it really makes no difference because that part of his personality was erased. So
I just suddenly remembered watching this movie for the first time when I was probably 14, and just really connecting with it emotionally. It is such an efficient but emotionally real story in this weird way. It is this satire, it has moments of comedy and absurdity, and yet the tragedy of Murphy is never played for laughs, except in maybe the sequels. But his entire journey, and I think it's a performance as well by Peter Weller that also helps to sell that. It's just... It is so tragic. It is a horror. The shit that he's gone through, and you watch it through his eyes, almost literally.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally within the next couple of minutes. The 209 fight scene is very deliberately, his visor gets broken, and it's the first time we see Robocop's eyes. It's literally, well, we've seen the mouth and the nose. It actually exposes the eye, and the eye visually is very connective with humans. Like, we know he's a human face, we know he's Murphy, but that moment when we finally see the eye, and like, we know there's an eye underneath there. He's not just this like eyeless cyborg. He's just got a face mouth, like, weird thing. No, he's actually got a face underneath the mask.
It's amazing. Just covering the eyes changes so much about how we perceive a face.
Yeah. So again, this is a great crafted, layered movie. And, like, oh god, we're like 2/3 of the way through it, and we're still going to be gushing for the next third of it.
Yeah, I still, every now and then as we're reviewing it, oh, you know what, this is just a really great movie, guys. I just need to tell you, it's really great.
It's weird, because part of me wants to do, like, this is the thing that really sucks about this movie, but I can't think of anything.
I don't think we've found anything.
I know. I don't believe in perfect movies. I've always think there's some things. I mean, yeah, we can critique it and stuff like that, but
Perfect movies don't exist. Ooh, what about Robocop?
yeah, I know people have made that argument for Robocop. People have also made that argument for Galaxy Quest, which is weird.
Yeah, you know what? I could take that.
Yeah, probably the only thing that's not perfect in Galaxy Quest is probably Tim Allen. That's about it.
Wow, he's Tim Allening it.
He's perfect in the role, but
Yes.
not a, yeah. Hey,
Yeah, that's neither here nor there, but
but it is great for this. There was an extra bit in the script
yes.
in this scene, and I'm so glad they removed it. They add a comedy bit when Robocop is coming up the elevator to Dick Jones. That great dramatic scene with the dramatic music. A cleaner was supposed to step in and halfway through and ride the elevator up with him.
oh, that would have been great.
Oh no!
I know it's so stupid and would have ruined the whole thing, but I want to see it. I want to see a deleted scene of that.
I do have an alternate bit of dialogue that didn't happen, but it's in the novelization.
Well, is it supposed to be as we saw it, where it was just from the distance we see that shot of him in the elevator, or
No. So in the script, it goes scene 1321 elevator lobby. Robo pushes the call button. He waits. Ding! Elevator opens. Clerks.
it's full on. Okay, because I thought if it's just a little touch in that, if we're watching it from a very wide perspective, looking down into the elevator, and there's Robocop, but there's a little lady there with a vacuum.
So no, it goes. So everyone clears out as soon as he gets in. So then, elevator goes up. It waits. Ding. The elevator pauses at the 73rd floor. The doors open. A cleaning woman, Emma, backs in with the cleaning cart. The door closes. She looks at Robo. Emma, hi there. Robo nods. Ding. The elevator opens. Emma pushes the cart. Robocop walks down the long corridor. They added... Oh, I'm so glad they removed that.
Yeah, that would have just brought it to a screeching halt. Yeah, I like the idea of just seeing a little distant shot of a cleaning woman. That would have been funny, but...
Yeah, no, I think it's more poignant that, especially with the dramatic music.
Well, yeah, it's this scene. It's not appropriate to put a comedy sting in, and this is. I don't want to get into the discussion about Marvel. That always seems to happen in every podcast these days. But yeah, I do feel there are times where the Marvel movies, they almost inject too much comedy to the point that there are moments where I go, "Hang on, am I supposed to be anticipating an actual sad scene, or is this going to be a goof?" Whoa.
Now, the conclusion.
Welcome back after that short interruption. Unfortunately, my co-host Courtney has died, but we managed to retrieve the hard drive and we have uploaded her into a new robot body. And so, welcome back, Courtney Coulson 2.0.
We apologize for the interruption to the podcast. Things should continue on now as they have always been, and you should not notice any further interruptions.
Unless someone explodes again, which we can't guarantee is not going to happen.
Precisely.
I guess it's my turn next time. Fuck.
Yes. Also, no one implanted me with any kind of directives. Should I be concerned?
No. Don't be concerned about that. Just, ignore that part. Just.
Is it time for gaslighting Robocop yet?
I do have a couple of notes first. Because I just want to bring this up quickly. Some missing dialogue from the books and the script where Dick is going on about, so you want to play Super Cop? They loved that phrase, didn't they? Because even like the whole thing of Boddicker taunting Murphy about all this. But the reason I want to bring up commentary, because I think you'd enjoy this. Yeah. So Paul's talking about the music, and he actually compares it to Lawrence of Arabia. And... yeah, there's not much else.
I don't know. How does it compare to Lawrence of Arabia?
I don't know. I think he's just talking about how it might compare to the music of Lawrence of Arabia. I haven't seen Lawrence of Arabia, but I know you're a fan, so
yes, I do love that movie.
I thought you'd appreciate the notes. So, yes, let's get on to... Oh, fuck.
Gaslighting Robocop.
Alex, how do you feel? I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
And before we get into that, so the power pole outside my house exploded. Just in case anyone was wondering what the hell that was. Yeah, that wasn't just really good Foley work or something. No.
Oh, that would have been fucking phenomenal Foley work.
Yeah. Sounded so real. So it was a really humid day, and then it rained, and then apparently the dust and the moisture combines, and I was without power for 24 hours. That was a lot of fun. Oh, and it was on fire. Yeah, it was on fire. I was just sitting there. I was talking to Simon, and should I call the fire department? I think I should.
I think my immediate response was yes.
Yeah. I just don't like being a bother,
Yeah, just let it burn down around me. That's fine.
I don't want to be rude or anything, We're up to minute 73 of the Robocop remake. This minute begins. This minute begins with another crime man saying, "What? You too busy to walk us in?" And ends with Liz Klein saying, "I'll issue a gag order before I let her see her husband." So Norton here half-assedly tries to bat for Clara, and then just does it.
Yes.
Again, this could have been a really interesting subplot and taking it in a new direction. And I'll have to write the fanfic. I guess that's what I'm gonna have to do.
Audience, drink.
Yep.
Because that has any time when this could have been good. Drink.
Yeah, take a drink when they almost approached a good idea and then ran screaming from it. I imagine the studio was looking at the dailies and going, it's too interesting. Can we make it less interesting?
Yeah, it's...
I think commercially it actually did okay, and that's all they wanted, really.
I believe it made at least its budget back. I could be mistaken. I don't think it was a flop, but it wasn't a runaway success. It wasn't the tentpole you're going to build a string of movies off.
It wasn't Dread.
Well, that didn't really make that much money.
That's the thing. It's either you have Dread, which is fucking phenomenal, the soundtrack, the visuals. I wish they made
such a great film. Made no money.
And then you've got something like Robocop, which was not critically well received, had no point to make, but made its money back. So,
well, this is where we get onto essentially the function of a remake is essentially to cash in on a popular franchise especially with a bit of nostalgia, especially that's not had something for a while. Like, there wasn't really like a steady stream of Robocop content, whereas Judge Dredd, it's a comic that's been going since the 80s. It had one Hollywood film that the fans absolutely despise.
I think it's fun.
It is, but it's also really terrible. I went into it as a fan. And there's discussions to be had with that film.
It's Dredd in name only. It's a Judge Dredd parody. But I was looking at IMDb recently, and everything on the front page was a remake or a reboot or a sequel to something else. They're bringing back the original cast for Jurassic Park, and I just went, for fuck's sake, stop. Fucking stop. But then there was a Ryan Reynolds movie or TV show coming to Netflix.
Yes!
Yeah, about him...
The Adam Project.
Yeah. And he's going back in time and meeting his 12-year-old self. And it's such an 80s concept, Last Starfighter kind of... Oh, yeah. What a great concept. And so, gives me hope.
It's the same director as...
Free Guy.
Sean Levy? Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard good things about that.
Free Guy. I like Free Guy. I'm so glad we're talking about this and not the other movie. No, Free Guy is a great, almost like 90s film nostalgia, like
Truman Show kind of.
Yeah, but it's really like a love letter to internet culture. Like, you really need to know your video games. You don't have to know, like, it's not like Ready Player One, which banks on, hey, franchise. Check out franchise. It's more about, this is like, these guys know video games, they know video game culture, they know the actual like physicality, like the function in gaming.
Yeah, it's not just these particular specific games. It's what is it like to be a gamer.
It's very much like Grand Theft Auto to a certain degree, but the idea is that you're looking at it from the NPC's point of view, and what happens when they break the code. It does get a little bit. in there at times with some of how they explain the meta narrative of around the game. It does get a little bit creepy, but for just a solid fun film, it's really enjoyable.
But yes, getting back to Robocop.
Yes, a movie that very much isn't.
Yes. So according to IMDb, Norton's first name is Dennett. He has 2 surnames. You can never trust a person with 2 surnames. So, the reason why he has that name is he's named after the philosopher Daniel Dennett, who is famous for his work on consciousness and free will.
One of the 4 horsemen.
Both of which are key themes in the movie. Daniel Dennett argues that consciousness is an illusion created by layers of physical and chemical processes, and that consciousness is essentially computational. He nonetheless argues that his view is compatible with the idea of free will. Okay.
Yeah, free will. We won't go into that. But
well, in the next minute, I'm going to talk about free will a little bit, so we will save that.
Yeah, I was going to say, considering things that happen in the next 2 or 3 minutes in the remake, where there is something to be said about the idea, but they don't. Spoilers, because it's this fucking film.
He was almost played by Ed Norton, which I could see.
I could see Ed Norton probably really killing this role a bit more than Gary Oldman, to be honest.
Yeah, I think you need someone who's a bit more...
That kind of manic energy that he does.
A bit more bite, yeah.
Yeah, whereas I get what Oldman's doing here. The character seems to be playing both sides, but there's no...
duplicity.
No, I was going to say no agency there. We don't get a sense of why he's doing it. He just seems to be bowing before everyone that comes up against him. Like, there's no like resistance to anything. Like,
he is the character that I am most intrigued by conceptually, because we don't have anyone like this in the original Robocop. Maybe Lewis to a degree, but someone who actually has the ability to speak up and has control over the Robocop project, who was involved in the inception of it. So,
because in many ways he's almost like Johnson. He's a bootlicker. That seems to be... He's the guy who seems to be wanting to appease everyone. But it just comes across really, really badly when he's talking to Mrs. Murphy. I'm just going to have to look for her name.
Clara.
I've honestly forgotten. Clara.
Yeah, I remember only because I have a friend named Clara, so shout out to mother of Studio Utani.
Yeah, so it's like his interactions are almost identical with Sellers and Clara. But there doesn't seem to be any commentary on that, because when he's doing his own things, he also seems to have his own agenda. So it just becomes a guy who's just does whatever the script wants to say, as opposed to having any
That would have been interesting, though, if he was kind of this dark horse. He has a third agenda, I guess. I don't know what that would be, but yeah, that would be cool.
Even if it was stated, like, he just turns around and says, I don't give a single fucking shit about Sellers or Mrs. Murphy. I just want to see my robot man shine, or, actually go into his namesake, Morton, who didn't give a fuck about anyone else but his own project.
Yes. Yeah.
Do that!
Yeah, that would be interesting. So it seems like he's on Clara's side because, well, I worked on this project and he has free will. We kept his brain. Why did we do that?
Again, that's one of the parts of the in-textual things where they're going, as soon as the visor's down, he has no control. And so it's like...
So what's the point?
So does he have free will or not?
Yeah, and I could imagine also it's this kind of Mengele egotistical surgeon kind of thing of, I've got this experiment here, and he does not care about the politics or the business angle at all. And that could also be very cool.
There could have been some text to this that could have just helped support this character. As I say, I agree. Conceptually, he's a great character, but the use just always feels wishy-washy to me. Really takes out all that bite.
Why do I have to waste so much of my life sleeping because there's so many things I need to actually publish, proper books and memoirs and stuff that people, want to pay money for some reason.
Yeah.
But also, I just kind of want to write a better Robocop remake script.
I think this is the conundrum every artist gets to that, I guess isn't making billions of dollars. Okay, well, not billions. The starving artist dilemma is like, there's so much I could do. And also the resentment. Why the hell am I imbibing this utter trash?
Yes.
So when I could write something better, I think Hollywood just deals in mediocrity. It has been dealing with mediocrity for so long.
I think all of this is a really good exercise in writing, though. And even if you out there are listening, hopefully it is inspiring you to look at stories critically. Because I've definitely learned with my own creative writing these days, it's such a breeze. Rather than writing memoirs, because writing real life is just so difficult. How do you structure that? I don't know. Yeah, when you're writing fiction and you have watched many, many bad movies or read many bad books, you can just so easily stand back and go, well, I can see the mistakes I'm making because I've seen them done way worse than I have.
This is a point I've been kind of making for at least 10 or so years now. Ever since I started getting into critical analysis. I love bad media for critical analysis. And this is kind of the reason why, as much as I bitch, piss, and moan about this fucking film, I'm secretly glad we are doing this.
Yeah.
Because you can learn so much from what went absolutely bollocksing wrong in a movie. Good movies are great. They're always invigorating. They're inspiring. You sometimes just go, man, I want to make something like that. And then you watch like a Troll 2 or something like that. And you're just there going, wow, this is bad. And I'm fascinated. Or in this case, like, wow, this is so bad. I am perplexed.
It's actually inspiring in a weird way, because you go, I know that I'm capable of doing better. And it actually takes apart the mystery of movie making to a degree. When you look at a really good high budget film, it's impossible. It's on this whole other level, and you can't connect with it. But when you watch a bad movie, or even just a B-grade movie, like, The Evil Dead, they're not bad films, but they're B-grade. They're very cheap. But you go, wow, it does not take much to make a cool-looking movie.
Yeah, this has always been the problem with, again, big budget Hollywood, is that, especially the modern era is all about marketing and making money, so you need to sometimes go to the lower tier cinema to get something. And that's it. Okay, so the definition of a cult film is a movie that failed in box office or whatever, and has gotten a cult-like appreciation. This is why we love things like Ed Wood. Not the movie Ed Wood, the creator. Plan 9 from Outer Space is shambolic.
Yeah.
But I'd rather watch Plan 9. I'd watch any of the Ed Wood oeuvre than watch a fucking movie like Robocop like this again for fun.
The worst thing a film can be is boring. And
yeah,
I mean, it's not Jose Padilla who directed this film. He, in the trivia, it says he phoned a friend and fellow Brazilian director Fernando Moraes, to confide in him his frustration and the lack of creative control he was allowed by the studio for the project. Padilla estimated that for every 10 ideas he brought to the project, the studio refused 9, and went on to describe the making of the film as the worst experience of his life. When word of this conversation became public, in an effort to appease the studio, Padilla released a counter-statement expressing satisfaction with the film.
So, this is one of those things where okay, my memory's not great, but I don't think we've ever criticized the director in this.
No.
There is criticisms to be had just on a perfunctory level. But I think directing, everything I think when we come to it, it's like maybe like the acting is always very stilted, the cinematography is bland and stuff like that. And it's perfunctory directing. This is like, this is going to be mean. It's TV directing. It's perfunctory directing. But I don't blame this guy, because this has the stink of Hollywood executive all over it. That's why I keep saying this was a movie created from algorithm and test groups and shit like that.
Yes, this is...
There's no heart and soul to this movie.
Yeah, and that's what we keep saying over and over. It's got everything else. It just has no heart, no soul.
Yeah, which could be good commentary for a robot man. But...
Yeah. So, see, if I were him and, the conversation went public and the studio's on my ass about, oh, well, you have to say you actually enjoyed working on this movie, I would say, no, fuck you, I've already been paid, and then laugh all my way to the bank. I don't...
Well, there's always the thing of you're never going to work in this studio again mentality with Hollywood.
But if I've had that experience, I don't think I'd want to. I'd just go back to Brazil, I guess.
Yeah, this is why I absolutely fucking Robert Pattinson, like, he just doesn't fucking give a shit anymore about
a champion.
pandering. Oh, God, yes.
Okay, now I don't know if I want to watch The Lighthouse or Free Guy. Could go either way.
Well, I haven't seen The Lighthouse, so I can't give you a commentary of that. I'm fairly certain, unless they've changed it for Disney Plus, that Ryan Reynolds doesn't jack off in it. However, this is Ryan Reynolds, so could go either way. Actually, if he jacked off in the middle of Free Guy, it might have actually made more money. No, the industry and the studios, I think they've gotten worse, to be honest. And people always blame this, again, the obligatory MCU reference, but no, it's not the MCU that's the problem. It's the industry itself is what creates these kind of franchises. It's just that finally one of them worked.
Yes.
And they're milking it for all it's worth.
Yes. Yeah, I enjoyed the recent Spider-Man movie, and I go, I'm part of the problem. I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a huge DVD and Blu-ray collection that just fully outs me as one of the fucking problems.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with the Marvel movies. The problem is that there's nothing but those movies right now.
And honestly, I kind of think that Marvel's best stuff is almost the stuff that's now coming out on Disney Plus in regards to storytelling. Because they're allowing some breathing room, so they're not trying to just throw out a 3-hour fucking blockbuster fest every two to three times per year. Love them or hate them, I find I have more respect for the longer forms, because there's better storytelling going involved, I think. And I love a short-run series that has a good story. Like, I don't need 24 episodes of a fucking WandaVision.
Yeah.
Give me, was it the 8 or 9 that it was, and I thought that was tight and brilliant.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more of that these days. And my last note is Russell Crowe was offered the part of Robocop. There were news headlines a year before the film came out claiming that he was offered the role, and I don't understand. Like, the man's in his 50s.
Well, the other reason why he got it, because he's Rusty Crowe.
Nah. Yeah, I don't see how. I think he's lying. I think Russell Crowe just wanted to. It's been some slow news years for the man since his bad singing in Les Mis. So he's like, you know what? I'm gonna make up a story about being in Robocop, and I'll get some headlines.
I'll be honest. I kind of would love to see Russell Crowe in this kind of role.
He isn't bland. I'll give him that.
Yes! The only movie that I can say for certain that where Joel Kinnaman seems to have a personality is The Suicide Squad. Just to make sure we're very specific about which movie we're talking about here. I haven't seen much of him, but every single time I'm like going, yeah, there's a reason we call him Bread. White bread. At that.
He's the exact same shade and everything. But I do love him in Altered Carbon, I've said it before. But yeah, he can act. He does have a personality, I swear to God.
He seems to be very terrible at selecting his project.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of sci-fi stuff out there. So there's also that. So that is...
I'm all noted out.
That's all my notes. So where can we find you, Simon?
We can find me
Yep, that
Well,
makes
you
sense.
can find me. Yeah.
Everyone.
The royal,
all of us.
The royal we. You can find me at Helios Photos, Fandom Crossing. I do have a YouTube channel, and I post shit on there whenever I can. And where can the lovely viewers find you?
You can find me at Travian Designs, patreon.com/Travian Designs. Covenant Minute is back, and I'm sort of working towards putting all the other Patreon exclusives back up, and I gave myself too many projects. This is the story of my life. I am also Courtney Colson on YouTube.
And you're Courtney and Ivy on
Instagram, yeah, if you want to see the wholesome love between a woman and her 26-year-old sub.
And Greatest Free... We haven't plugged, I don't think, the Greatest Free Generation in a while.
Thank you. Greatest Regen. Again, I've got too many freaking projects, but I've just been going through the month of February 1982. Not too busy this month, but still some interesting stuff. My favorite discovery this month is that Swamp Thing was not the only swamp creature movie that came out in February.
Oh, this is Hollywood. As soon as they hear about one weird project, some other studio is going to steal the concept.
Yeah, I wonder if that's what it was. So it's called The Beast Within.
Probably.
Got some gnarly 80s horror effects, so check it out.
But it doesn't have Adrian Barbeau, so...
No.
Pick your poison.
Yeah.
My only reference to Adrian Barbeau, realistically speaking, is C-Lab 2021.
Is she in that?
The Adrian Barbeau bot.
Oh, I don't remember. God, it's been a long time.
And you can find us on Simplecast, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever podcasts are podded, YouTube. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Feed the algorithm. Please don't blow up. We need all the audience we've got.
And until next time.
Remember, kids, always downloading your porn at 1080p because you don't want a low-resolution Robocop.
Yes.